Guys, it's happening. The follow-up to the third best-selling video game console of all time has finally been officially announced. And I don't want you to think that we here at Team TripleJump are overexcited, but let's just say we've already made ourselves comfortable in the first-class carriage of the hype train. Announced in a trailer on the 16th of January 2025, the Switch 2 will be the third hybrid Nintendo console to hit the market after the Switch 1 and the Virtual Boy. And if the gaming world's reaction to its predecessor is anything to go by, it's set to be massive. But what do we know about the Switch 2? What does it look like? What new features does it have? And most importantly, are we finally getting a new Mario Kart? Well, fret not, dear viewer, because we've been over the teaser trailer with a fine-tooth comb in order to glean as much information as we can and then pulled together this handy-dandy listicle for your convenience. Please just be aware that everything in this list is correct at time of writing in January 2025, but may be subject to change as Nintendo reveal more about the console. So if you're watching a few months on and anything has changed, we do apologize. We best crack on with it then before any of this information becomes out of date. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 things you need to know about the Switch 2. Number 10. The Switch 2 is backwards compatible. One of the worst things about new consoles is not knowing whether or not you'll be able to play your old games on them. It's bad enough when it's PlayStation or Xbox, because at least if you won't be able to use your old games anymore for those platforms, they can be repurposed into coasters. You couldn't do that with a Switch cartridge though. I mean, what are you going to put on it? A thimble? Thankfully though, Nintendo have confirmed that the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible with many Switch games, meaning that most of the titles you currently own will work with the new hardware. This covers both digital and physical copies, as the Switch 2 utilizes the same cartridge style as its predecessor, something which is a little novel for Nintendo, who tend to switch things up, pun very much intended, every time they bring out something new. We say most of the titles you currently own because Nintendo have stated that some games won't work, though at the moment it's unclear which ones are on the chopping block. Those in the know speculate that those that need specific peripherals, like Ring Fit Adventure, might be the ones that aren't compatible with Switch 2, but either way, we're sure the company will give us the confirmation we seek in good time. Number 9. The Joy-Cons now snap in. A major issue with the original Nintendo Switch, in our writer's humble opinion anyway, is the controllers, or more specifically, trying to get the darn things off the console and then attempting to put them back in when you're done with them. It would seem that their woes are about to end, however, as the teaser for the Switch 2 revealed Nintendo have shaken things up when it comes to how the Joy-Cons attach. Unlike the old Joy-Cons, which slide onto the Switch and click into place, then detach by pushing a button and sliding away from the console again, the new Joy-Cons will snap to the Switch 2 using magnets. And if I know our editors, I know exactly which pop culture reference is going to be made there.
Magnets! Oh!
Not only should this make parting the Joy-Cons from the console and docking them again much easier, but it may also make way for new peripherals that also simply snap into place. Of course, Nintendo haven't revealed any such add-ons at the moment, and the downside is that any old peripherals will presumably not work with the Switch 2, but still, we're very excited to see what they come up with. Number 8. The Joy-Cons feature a mysterious new button and optical sensors. Speaking of Joy-Cons, it isn't just the docking system that's been overhauled. Now, we're not gonna lie, at first glance it would appear that Nintendo are offering little more than a paint job. However, our beady little eyes have been cast over every frame of that teaser trailer, and there are one or two things we've noticed about the new Joy-Cons. Firstly, they will now feature a sleeker, more rounded design that incorporates blue and pink accents. Now, don't get us wrong, we love the old Joy-Cons, but you can't deny that they look somewhat child-friendly. The new Joy-Cons feel a little more grown up, and yet still maintain a soft, rounded look that will appeal to gamers of all ages. I mean, this is Nintendo we're talking about, after all. We also noticed there's a new square button on the right Joy-Con, though what it does remains a mystery. It could be something like a capture button, a feature we've seen on other controllers for a while now, or maybe its function changes depending on the game. Furthermore, the new Joy Joy-Cons seem to have optical sensors incorporated, and it's speculated this means they can be used like a mouse. Why would you need such a function? Who knows, but knowing Nintendo, I'm sure they've thought of a million uses for all of these new features. Number 7. We're getting a new Mario Kart. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that Mario Kart 8 is one of the greatest games of all time, and thanks to the addition of extra courses in recent years, it's remained a favourite amongst friend groups with a competitive streak. You'll no doubt have been excited to find out that Mario Kart 8 will continue to function on the Switch too, but I'm certain you'll be just as thrilled to hear that a new Mario Kart is also in the works. The teaser trailer dropped on the 16th of January gave fans a sneak peek at the new Mario Kart, which hints at up to 24-player racing, massive tracks, visual upgrades, and much, much more. Details are scant at the moment, but even with the little we know, we are incredibly excited to see what the next Mario Kart holds. If you're not into karting though, then fear not, because those in the know have also suggested a new 3D Mario title is potentially in the works. Microsoft's position on exclusivity means that Halo and Microsoft Flight Sim may be available on the Switch too, and some even suggest that games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake might be coming to the console. Very exciting stuff, if true. We still don't know whether it could actually handle games like that. Number 6. The screen is larger than its predecessor. Another of the major downsides to the original Switch is its tiny 6.2-inch screen, which, while serviceable, does make playing epic titles like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and its sequel in handheld mode somewhat underwhelming. Admittedly, the Switch OLED went a ways to addressing this problem, offering players a 7-inch OLED display, but relatively speaking, this was still a rather small screen. All of you size queens out there need not fret though, because the Switch 2 seems to be finally giving players a decent sized screen. Now, we will caveat this by saying that no one at Nintendo has, at the time of writing, confirmed the exact screen size the Switch 2 will offer, but according to insiders, the new console will come with a whopping 8-inch screen. If true, this means the Switch 2 sports a screen that's 30% larger than the original. There's also been no confirmation as to whether the Switch 2 will have an OLED screen, but in our opinion, it would be something of a step backwards for Nintendo if it doesn't, considering they've already demonstrated it's possible to incorporate the technology into a hybrid console, as they did with the Switch OLED. But for now, only time will tell. Number 5. It features 2 USB-C ports. Yet another problem with the Switch, God, we make it sound like it had a lot of issues, don't we, is the location of its charging point. The USB-C port, which connects the console to its dock, is underneath, which is fine when you've got it tethered to your telly, but a massive pain when you're sat in bed trying to play Stardew Valley on the thing whilst charging, as the cable always gets in the way. Worse still, you can't charge at all when it's on its kickstand. Huh, nightmare. Clearly though, the good folks down at Nintendo have heard of our cable-y plight, as the Switch 2 is equipped with not 1 but 2 USB-C ports. This should mean, assuming the USB-C port on the top does what we think it does, that the Switch 2 can be docked in the usual way, but can also be charged from the top, eliminating issues with charging the device whilst it's on its kickstand or being used in handheld mode. There may also be other uses for this connector as well. Some speculate the inclusion of a USB-C connector on the top of the console opens the door to new peripherals. What those might be, we don't know, but we're certain those boffins at Nintendo could come up with all sorts of exciting things. Number 4. The console and dock have been redesigned. Call us shallow, but when a new console is in the works, one of the first things we want to know is what it will look like. We're proper grown-ups after all, and we need to know that whatever console we welcome into our homes is going to match with the decor, and not just look like a huge internet modem. I don't know what in the sweet hell Sony were thinking when they made the PS5. Thankfully, the design department at Nintendo seemed to have our keen eye for home design in mind, as the Switch 2 is quite the looker. Whilst it doesn't look massively different to the OG Switch, the Switch 2 has gotten something of a makeover. The console and dock are much more rounded, and the colours, which were very, very neon on the original Switch, are more muted pastel shades and used as accents rather than to cover the entire controller, making the whole thing look more modern. Additionally, the kickstand now runs the whole length of the console, making it extra sturdy, and it seems you can set it in a variety of positions, which is a very handy feature to have if you plan on taking the Switch 2 on the go. Number 3. Lucky players will be able to have a go in April, May, and June. Indeed, it would seem we've only got a few short weeks to wait before we can get our hands on a Switch 2, if only for a short period of time, as Nintendo has announced a veritable smorgasbord of showcase events coming soon to a city near you. Preview events are planned throughout April, May, and June in cities across the world, starting in New York and Paris on the 4th of April, and heading to various other destinations including Los Angeles, London, Melbourne, Tokyo, and Seoul throughout the 3-month tour. These events will give those who are lucky enough to win the ticket lottery, which ran on Nintendo's website from the 17th to the 26th of January, the opportunity to give the console a go for themselves, but perhaps just as importantly, it also gives us another hint to the potential launch date. Clearly the console will be ready to go by April ahead of its world tour, but as previews extend into June, it doesn't look like it will launch before that. All signs then seem to point to a summer launch, but are there any other clues that might help us to work out when the Switch 2 will actually release? Well, number 2, it's set to release sometime in 2025. At the moment, the only thing we can confidently say, as confirmed by Nintendo themselves, is the Switch 2 will land at some point in 2025. But come on, we're smart, we can do better than that, right? Let's see if we can narrow it down a little more. Knowing that Nintendo is a business, and businesses like to make money, we reckon the Switch 2 will be available in time for the holiday season. After all, we've no doubt that millions of kiddos will be writing letters to Santa requesting the device. On that basis then, we can probably safely remove the Christmas period from that 2025 release window and assume a date no later than sometime in November. Furthermore, the aforementioned preview events run until June, and as said, it would probably be a bit silly for Nintendo to release the Switch 2 before those are done. Why call it a preview if you can actually go out and buy the thing, after all? There were rumours the launch of the Switch 2 might coincide with the opening of Universal's Epic Universe theme park in May 2025, but we think based on the preview tour, that seems unlikely. So, looking at all our calculations, we reckon you can expect to get your hands on the Switch 2 at some point after June, but before November. Not too long to wait then. And number 1, when will we know more? As it stands, official information about the Switch 2 is almost negligible, with Nintendo playing things rather close to their chests. Though there are numerous things in the teaser trailer revealed about the console, and there's also lots of unofficial information out there thanks to a tidal wave of leaks, there's still an awful lot we don't actually know about the Switch 2. What launch titles will it have? What will its technical specifications be? And what in the heck is that optical sensor on the Joy-Con for? It seems, however, we won't be in the dark for too much longer, as Nintendo have announced a special Switch 2 Nintendo Direct set to take place on the 2nd of April 2025. Here we can expect to learn the answers to all of our questions, see trailers for new games, and much, much more. In the meantime though, we'll be keeping our ear close to the ground and sharing anything we find out via our socials channels and podcasts. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more by following all the links in the description. Right, seems like we've covered everything there is to cover at the moment. Now, anyone got any ideas for what to do to keep us occupied until the 2nd of April? A cheeky round of Mario Kart 8, perhaps?